Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I am sitting on the terrace of Grasse Institute of Perfumery. I've made my first friend here, Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Hi, guys.
And we're just hanging out, and I wanted to go over with everyone, what did we just do this morning in class? What was that all about?
So what you saw this morning was a lesson on synthetic raw material. So as you are learning to become a perfumer, you first need to learn on the ingredients that will compose a perfume. It's a bit like music. So far we are learning about the different notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, but in order.
Right, so we're smelling them instead of hearing them.
Exactly, so we did synthetic, and we also are learning about natural raw material. Because actually both of natural and synthetic material are very important to complete the overall palette for a perfumer. Okay,
so the natural material is a different class. We were dealing with synthetics specifically.
With Mr. Philippe Collet.
With Mr. Philippe Collet, right. Now what was interesting about this morning was that we smelled, it was Damascanone, right?
Correct.
And that was, that's the smell of rose. And it's interesting that it's synthetic because I didn't realize that it was a synthetic. I thought it was a natural rose that we were smelling until later I was told it was a synthetic fragrance class.
Correct. And I think people make the confusion between synthetic and chemistry.
Okay.
But you can find Damascenone in rose. So nature is able to make this material. We use chemistry to replicate what nature is already making.
Right.
So it's synthetic, but you can find it in nature as well. So not all synthetic are not natural.
We smelt in rose was synthetic, but you could also find it in nature. It's in the natural rose. We have Sylvia 9287 joining us. Hi, Sylvia. It's nice to see you. I am here with Jordan, and we are walking through what we learned this morning in our synthetic raw materials class. And the first thing that we did was we got to smell some different variations of rose, all synthetic, which was surprising to me, by the way, because to me it smelled like the natural rose. And so Jordan was making the point that the rose that we smelled, even though it was synthetic, it can also be smelled in the natural rose as well. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And so we smelled, it was four molecules, right? Four variations of rose.
So the way it happens, we are learning materials by family type.
Okay.
So this morning you were part of the floral rosy family.
I was part of the rosy family, that's right.
Exactly. And so we learned this morning 4 different materials, but the family of rose can be made of more than 10, 15, 20
Oh my
materials.
goodness, okay.
And before that we learned about pineapple notes, we learned about orris notes, violet leaves, green notes.
Right. How do you manage it when there's 10 to 15 different types of rose? How do you figure out the rose that you want to build?
So that's a very good question. I think we all have our little tricks.
First of all, tell me tricks or villains.
So first of all, we need to learn the proper semantic. So that's why when we talk to professionals, I cannot just say it smells like my grandmother, right? If you go to a professional, you need to explain what you are smelling. So this is what we are learning. But you have, depending on your past, depending on your culture, you may have some odor that will remind you about something, a place, and so on. But as soon as you have this little hint about it, you keep it for yourself, of course, but this will help you differentiate. Like, for example, for me, a note will have a licorice effect, which some others will not get, but if it helped me differentiate between one material to the other by knowing about this licorice aspect, I will keep it for myself.
I see. Okay, so this is where the story or the art comes into play. We have some new people joining us. We have M. Hammonds. Hi, M. Hammonds. And we have Minimalism 23. It's great to see you guys here today. We are going over what we learned in class. We reviewed Damascanone, which is a molecule that smells like rose, but then we got into different variations of rose. We also smelled some different molecules in the process. And what Jordan, what you were mentioning is there's the chemistry element, but then there's also the story element. And so when you have 10 or 15 different types of rose to choose from, you start to build a story based off of perception or what you think rose is, and that's the art. Is that correct?
Absolutely. As Mr. Collet said this morning, when you want to create a smell, you already need to picture what you want to what you have in mind. Like, for example, you want to create a rose, great, but what kind of rose do you want to create? You want to create a rose that just open in the morning? You want to create a rose that is in full blossom? So, and then when you have this overall picture in your head, it's just a question on what are the ingredients I will be using throughout my palette to compose what I had in my head. I mean, that's the story.
Now let's go over your background really quick, because that fascinated me. You were a chemist in a past life. I guess you still are. You always carry those skills with
Exactly.
you, right?
So I'm a chemist by training, and I have worked for about 15 years in formulation development for consumer care industry, so cosmetics and detergent.
Oh, how exciting.
Because both are actually very close in terms of formulation.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been doing it and traveling across the world. It was
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was very exciting. But my real passion was perfume. And what I love about this school is that it's not about your age or your background, it's about your project, what really motivates you to become a perfumer. And so I tried to enter in the school last year, and I was successful to get in. And it's like living a dream for me. It's amazing. So chemistry will still be a part of me, but I really want now to refocus a little bit my career on perfume.
Right, on the art of things. That's really exciting. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to talk to another student shortly about how you get into the Grasse Institute of Perfumery, because I hear it's pretty darn challenging.
It's challenging. I mean, they only take 12 students across the world. So just to give you an idea about the 12 students, in 2019 we have 9 different nationalities.
Okay.
I think the students will tell you that. I mean, for me, this is one of the strengths of the school, having access to so many different cultures, different way of perception. It's very complementary.